Hey friends, it's Missy again. Thanks so much for stopping in today. I have a new layout to share for the Paige Evans design team, and I'm really excited because this is my first layout using her new Splendid collection. And I just love it. It's so beautiful. So many beautiful bright colors, butterflies, flowers, stripes, everything you could imagine. This is a very versatile collection, which are my favorite kind of collections because you can do anything with them. I'm also going to use one of Paige's newer cut files. This one is called Starburst, and I went ahead and cut it on some textured plain old white cardstock here, and I'm not sure how I'm going to organize it on the paper, if I'm going to do it horizontally or vertically yet, but I did want to do a variation on backing the cut file. And so my first thought was I want to do a rainbow because, you know, all the colors are there. It's just so pretty, and I want to use all the colors. And since I've got a sunburst going on there, it just made sense to me. So I went through the 12 by 12 paper pad, and I'm going to pick one paper for each starburst. And I chose to use the 12 by 12 papers because they are white on the back. And when I first cut into a collection, I hate to use the other side right away. So I just went for the 12 by 12 to do this. And so what I'm going to do is just sort of go in rainbow order as best as I can and do the old school method of backing this cut file. And that means I'm going to flip the paper over, flip the cut file over, and just trace it and then cut it out. And then basically pretend like it's a puzzle, and then just stick this piece that I cut right back inside the shape where it goes. Now, what I think I'm going to do instead of backing the cut file is I'm going to cut them the exact size, so it's not actually going to go behind the cut file. I'm going to wind up gluing the cut file down flat and then popping up all of the sunbursts so they pop up off the page to create some dimension. And you'll see what I'm talking about here in a minute. And I started going, and I actually got some of my colors mixed up, but I'm going to edit some of this here in a minute, and I'll already be done cutting all of these pieces out, and it will look so pretty all made up together. And there it is. I love that. So pretty. I love all the colors, and oh, it's just awesome. Now for my background, I'm going to go white again, and this is another piece of white textured cardstock. So this cut file is going to take up half the page already. So I'm just going to add some clear gesso to half of the page because I do want to do some color coordinated mixed media with some shimmers. And so half of this page I'm not going to have to even bother because it's going to be covered up with all of those starbursts. And so I'm just going to do one half, let that dry, and then kind of bring back the cut file. See how much room that takes up? So that's one good thing about using a big cut file is it does take up a lot of space, and it kind of just helps make the layout for you because a lot of the work is already done. So here's what I was talking about earlier. I'm going to add some adhesive foam behind each little piece there, and I'm going to ruffle up the edges using my little edge distresser. That's what that little tool is there. It's got a little blade in there, and it just kind of tears up the edges and gives it a little bit of texture. And this adhesive foam I'm using is just regular kids craft foam. It's pretty thin, but it's perfect for popping things up off the page like this. So I'm going to take some time and do this. So all of these little pieces are going to have lots of depth and dimension and just sort of raise up off the page. And so now they're a little bit imperfect and they're a little bit torn and weathered looking, and I love that. So now I have to decide, do I want to keep the cut file in this position or what? I've got my two photos here, some cute selfies of me and my daughter Paige. I'm not sure where they're going to go, but I kind of like it turned horizontally like this. So I think that's the direction I'm going to go. And I want to do something special with the star. Since I've got all the colors already, I want to do some shimmery, shiny, metallic colors. So we're going to go with gold. Surprise, I love gold. And this is an almost empty bottle of the Jen Hadfield Gold Glitter Spray. And I'm just going to spray it right on. I haven't put any gesso or anything on this star. It's just plain cardstock. And kind of use my finger to spread it around. Take out the nozzle, splatter it, just make it nice, gold, shiny. And I feel like that was a nice, good neutral color to kind of go with all of the rainbow colors. Okay, so now I have that all decided. I want to know exactly where to glue things down because I want to know where to add all of my color with my shimmers paint. So I'm going to lightly add some tracing there right at the bottom so I know exactly where to go, because I don't want to glue the cut file down yet because I don't want to turn it a color when I start to paint. So I'm going to glue that down later. Now I went through all of my shimmers, which is my favorite watercolors to use, and I picked out several colors that match all of those papers, and I'm just basically going to add a little bit of each down to this bottom section that I gessoed earlier to kind of mimic where all of the colors are going to go. That first light pink color that I use is an Inklings, and it's called Beats Me. And then I came in with a little bit of a darker pink that's got some gold glimmer in it, and it is an Inklings called Gosh Garnet, and it is so pretty. It looks kind of reddish in the container, but it is a beautiful golden pink. And then for my orange, this one is an actual spray. It's a colorings called Peachy Keen, and it's the perfect orange to match the orange paper in the rainbow there. The yellow color that I'm going for is a shimmers called Bumbly Bee, and it's real glittery, a little bit thicker than the Inklings, and it is just a beautiful golden yellow color. It's so pretty. And there on the orange, you can kind of see some of the lines where the gesso dried. I think that looks cool. I love when the gesso does that because it just creates some unique interest on the background, something different. The green color that I'm using is an Inklings called I'm Not Limon, and it's got some gold powder mixed in there too, so it's real shimmery when it dries. This color is really bold. A little bit will go a long way. It's an Inklings called Blue Lagoon, and it is a gorgeous teal color. And you can see here, I'm just adding a little bit and then blending them with water, so one color just kind of blends into the next, making this really pretty soft rainbow effect. The purple color is Inklings Paradise Punch, and you can see how well that matches the purple paper. And like I said, all of these paints that I'm using are from Shimmers Paints. I'll link them down below. They have a whole variety, different kinds of paints. If you've never heard of them or never used them, they are my go-to watercolors and sprays and things. But I love how this is turning out. It worked out perfectly. I was so excited making this because it just matched. Everything matched, everything worked, the colors blended. And let me say, I know I say this a lot, but if you've never watched me create a background, the gesso is what allows that soft blended effect to take place. Because the gesso, oh, look at that shimmer. Oh my gosh. Love, love, love how that looks. Sorry, I was temporarily blinded by the shimmer there. Lost my train of thought. The gesso acts as like a primer. It's like a barrier between the paper and the paint. And so once the gesso dries, you kind of have this little layer to paint on top of. And so it doesn't just seep right through the paper right away. So you have time to move the color around, blend it with another color, dab it up if you change your mind. You just have some time and space to work with the gesso. And so that's why I always use it, because otherwise, you know, when paint hits paper, it's either going to soak right through and you're not going to be able to spread it, or it's going to tear a hole in the paper, that kind of thing. So the gesso has several really awesome properties that make this effect possible. I decided to go in with a little bit of a red color because I didn't really use a red color, and that one is called Inklings She Packs a Punch. And I wouldn't really call it red. It's more of a, well, punchy color, but it does have red properties, and it matches that red color pretty well. So I didn't want to use Fire Engine Red because, you know, it looks like blood to me. So I wanted it to look softer, but I'm just coming in with those same colors and making them a little bolder, using a little bit of water to help dilute it and blend it and just keep that soft, cloudy effect. I don't want any harsh lines. I want it to look nice and soft and just dreamy, you know, because the cut file and all those papers that I cut have very sharp edges. You know, they don't blend into each other. So I'm going to kind of have the best of both effects. You know, the soft and cloudy faded look of the watercolor mixed with the straight lines of the cut file. And I love that. I love mixing and matching two opposite things because you just get these really cool effects and it just keeps things interesting, you know. But yeah, I just decided there needed to be a little bit more green, so I'm just going to touch that section up and keep working on it. And don't be afraid to use your fingers. You know, I know a lot of people shy away from mixed media because it's messy. And, you know, it doesn't bother me. I don't mind getting messy. I like taking the time to make these layouts or these backgrounds. You know, it's part of the joy for me. A lot of the joy for me is doing this. But you know, if you're new to mixed media and you want to try it and start practicing it, you know, brushes are great, but don't be afraid to use your hand. Don't be afraid to just take your finger and dab, dab, dab and smudge, 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 because sometimes your finger can do a lot better job than the brush, depending on the look you want. But there's all kinds of tools you could use to apply watercolor and mixed media paints and things like that. But yeah, and I often get asked what size brush I'm using. I don't even know. It just came from a pack of brushes that I bought a long time ago at Michael's. It's not a fancy, expensive brush. I'm a bad brush mom. I mean, half the time I leave my brushes in the jar of water where I rinse them. I know that's terrible, but I'm guilty of that. So I don't treat my brushes that great. I need to work on that, but they work well for what I use them for. They're nothing special. I don't feel like for these kind of techniques you need fancy brushes, you know, just basically painting splotchy areas. So I'm not trying to get detailed or anything, but yeah, nothing fancy. I'm coming back in with the same colors, adding some splatters. That's a paper towel roll that I've used several times. I like to use a paper towel roll to roll over my splatters because I have found that doing that helps keep the circle shape of the splatters. Because if I take a napkin and wrap it around my finger and then just smudge it right down on top of the dot that I just splattered, it tends to turn it into a blob. So if you want to keep the little circle shape, either let it dry on its own, which can take a while. If you want to dry it right away, gently roll some paper towels right over it, and it always works for me to where it keeps the circle shape of the splatter. And it also helps if you want to have a lighter color. See how I just kind of dabbed up that blue dot? That's the gesso. You know, if you put something down and you're like, that didn't turn out so great, you have some time to kind of dab it up. Just wet it with some water and dab it up. How many times can I say dab it up? But you know what I mean. You have some time to play. But I love how this turned out. I think it's awesome. I think I'm ready to glue down the cut file there. And here's where I do want it straight because it has those straight edges. And I know exactly where it's going to go. I've already got the bottom part done. So we're going to start to glue. I'm going to make sure it's straight right around the star there because I don't want that area to look messy. And sometimes I have a hard time getting things straight, even with this ruler. This is kind of why I like to do things crooked on purpose, because I'm terrible at getting things straight. No matter how hard I try, I still wind up getting something crooked. And I realized that I needed to add a little bit more around the star because you could kind of see some of the white edges there. So I'm going to take care of that now before I glue it down. There we go. So in the end, you're going to be able to see the actual cut file a little bit, but it's going to be very subtle. And, you know, that's just one more facet of a cut file. There's so many ways to use it. You know what's another cool thing you could do with a cut file? I mean, any cut file. You could cut it like this and use it as a stencil, and you don't even have to wind up using the actual cut file. I could just basically put this down on the paper, get some modeling paste and a craft knife or an old credit card, and then smear or smudge the modeling paste all through those edges and then peel the cut file up and you wouldn't even have to use it. So you could use it as a guide for something else, or I could just spray right on top of it and create this cool mist effect. There's so many ways to use it, you know, you don't have to just back it, but I've got most of this glued down, and you can kind of see it because it's white on white, but I think I used 2 different brands of white cardstock there, so you can see the difference in the white. It almost looks a little gray, but in the end it all works together. All I'm doing here is gluing down all of those little pieces inside the cut file. And if you like doing puzzles, this is a cool technique because that's basically all you're doing here is putting the pieces back together. And I tried to kind of keep everything color matching, and here's what I've got so far. Still kind of damp from the glue, but I'm going to flatten it out later. But I love this. I love it. I love the colors. Oh my gosh. When all else fails, just use all the colors, you know? And I love that gold star. So cute. Now this is another thing I like to do, which in the end, it really doesn't make a difference. But in my mind at the time, I felt like I wanted to do it. This is white gesso, okay? It's perfect. I love it. What I like to do when I have all this color, all this pattern, is I like to kind of smudge some of the gesso behind where the photos are going to go. And what this is going to do is it's going to sort of fade out some of the color and the pattern, and that's going to help focus more on the photos in that area. Because sometimes when you have your photos up against a lot of busyness, a lot of color, a lot of pattern, you tend to lose focus of the photos, you know? And my goal is to always have the photos stand out, because that's the whole point. I want to showcase my photos. So I'm just taking my finger and stick it in my white gesso and just kind of smudging it. And like I said, in the end, on this particular layout, it doesn't really make a huge difference. It just kind of makes it look a little faded and hazy, and a little less bright, I guess, with all those colors. And I think I just like to get my hands dirty. You know, who am I kidding? But yeah, I could have done a little bit more of that, but it's okay. In the end, I don't think it really made a difference. Mainly because my photos are black and white. And that's another thing that I recommend when you're doing a really colorful layout like this. You know, if your photos have clashing colors or they're kind of dark or they don't match, it may have an effect on the overall look of your page. So black and white is always a surefire way to have everything kind of match and gel together. All I'm doing here is splattering some white acrylic paint that I watered down slightly to make it splatter better. And I just love that. And oh my gosh, I haven't used this stuff in forever. I haven't even opened the gold. Am I crazy? I can't believe this. This stuff, oh, it's awesome. This is the Nouveau Glimmer Paste. And if you have any desire to have anything sparkle in a quick way and an easy way, this stuff it's perfection. It's basically like a paste. That's why it's called Glimmer Paste. But look how fast and easy this is. I just stick my finger in there and smudge it on top of this gold star, and it is glittery perfection. And the good thing about this stuff is you're not going to have glitter anywhere because it's inside the paste. It's amazing. I mean, I have so many colors of this stuff, and I don't know why I haven't pulled it out and used it lately. But look at that. Are you kidding me? Ugh, it's gorgeous. This is the gold, obviously. I think that's the name of it. Golden Crystal is the name of it. But I have gold and silver and clear, a couple of blues and a couple of pinks. But yeah, that stuff is incredible. I want to just smear it all over everything because it's so sparkly and perfect. What am I doing? I'm going to add some tissue paper behind my photos here. This is something I think I do on every single layout I make. Sometimes I don't even have a reason why other than I like the way it looks. It's not special tissue paper. It's just plain old white tissue paper that you put in someone's gift bag. And I like that it's very subtle. See, you can kind of see it, but it doesn't, it's not a color, so it doesn't compete with any of those colors on the background. It doesn't take away from the photos. It just kind of helps separate the photos a little bit better from that busy background. And I'm going to say it again, it's very subtle. It's not something that you see right away when you look at the page. You just know that those photos stand out. And, you know, that's just one little tool to help the photos stand out. Now I'm going to come in with thread. because I want to figure out where the thread is going to go before I start embellishing. Now this is just regular old sewing thread I get from Walmart. It's not fancy, it's not expensive. I have the orange color and the pink color that I'm going to use on this particular page, and just kind of have it in its correct color area. So the pink thread is on the pink section and the orange is on the orange. And I'm not going to go with every color because there's not really another place to add more thread. So I'm just going to go with those two colors, and then I'm going to start embellishing. I'm going to go through pretty much everything in this collection. What I just did was fussy cut out a couple of butterflies from a little 2x2 paper pad that comes in this collection. This here is called the 8-page sticker book, and it is 8 pages of stickers. Paper stickers, vellum see-through stickers, some of them are metallic gold, like this one here. This is a label sticker, but I'm going to use it to kind of help serve as bookend frames around the edges of my photos. So what I'm going to do is stick it to some cardstock here. It wasn't sticking very well, so I'm going to glue it down, and it's metallic gold even though it looks black here in the lights. And then I'm going to smudge some white gesso on it to kind of take away that brassy gold and make it look a little more matte gold, and then cut it out. See, it's still sparkly. Then I'm going to cut it out. This is why I always suggest you keep your scraps from when you're punching or you're doing your cuts on your Cameo or your Cricut. You never know when you might just need a little piece of cardstock for something like this, you know? And that way you don't have to waste a whole new piece. I'm going to cut this in half and then layer it on the edges of my photos. See, you don't always have to use your stickers as they're supposed to be used. Like that was a label. I didn't use it anywhere close to being a label. I'm using it to kind of like parentheses around my photos. And I went with the gold because I felt like we needed a couple more pops of gold since we've got that gorgeous glittery star that I do pop up off the page. That star, I can't stop looking at it. Oh my gosh, this glimmer paste is so cool. I'm going to go ahead and glue the photos down, which in turn is going to glue down that thread as well. So now the star and the photos are kind of raised up to the same level. And I'm going to tuck those little bookends back in and glue those down. And again, it just kind of helps draw your eye to the photo, kind of frames it. Now I let this dry overnight at this point, and I put some heavy boxes and things on top of it. So it's dry, it's shimmery, it's flat. Oh man, it's so pretty. These colors, Paige knocks it out of the park every time. Now I'm going to go through the stickers. These are the epoxy stickers, and they're kind of like puffy stickers. And I love that shine sticker. I like that it's gold, and I like how it looks on top of that photo because there's some empty space where my dark shirt is, and so the H kind of curves up right there to where you can still see Paige's hand touching my chin. I love that. I love when embellishments kind of just look like they are meant to be on top of a photo or in a certain area. The shape of it just works. And I don't even care what the title's going to be. I'm going to use that shine sticker right there because I like it. And plus it's a starburst, so, you know, it kind of makes sense. Plus that star is shiny. We're going to go with it. I'm going to use that little piece that says my heart because I like the way it's going to look on the pink section. And then that little label says wonderful stuff, and it's orange. And so I'm going to stick that right there on the little orange section above the photo. And then I'm just going to keep looking for things that match the colors that I've got and small things, because the bulk of this layout is already done, and all the space is pretty much taken up with either the cut file, the photos, or the paint. So I'm looking for things that are kind of small that I can tuck in here and there, and I don't want to cover up the lower half that much because I love the effect of all of that watercolor. So I'm looking for small things. So my advice on that issue is if you want to use something big, like an embellishment, like something from the chipboard stickers or something from the cardstock stickers that's like a big thing, I would start with the big thing. Because what I've found in my experience is when I'm creating a layout like this and I'm getting close to the end, it's hard to add in a big thing once everything else is finished. So I tend to, if I don't start with the big thing, I won't add the big thing at the end. So I'm looking for small things. I hope that makes sense. I'm going to do some fussy cutting here. What I just did was I peeled that row of colorful flowers off of the cardstock stickers, but I wanted to take off the sticky factor so I could do some cutting because I want them all individual. So I just put some powder. I keep a little mini thing of just baby powder on my desk, and I just kind of sprinkle it on the back of the sticker, and it takes away the sticky and it makes it easier to cut. So all I did was kind of cut those apart to kind of scatter around the top part of the layout, color on color, or tone on tone, as we like to call that in the scrapbooking world, which means each color is going to match the same color. So I've got flowers and butterflies going on, and I don't want to add too much to the top, but just a couple little things here and there, kind of maybe one thing on each color, or almost. And then I was looking for, again, small things, and I found this little flower cluster that I'm going to fussy cut, and that is another paper that I got from the 12 by 12 paper pad. And I want to add that down to the bottom, and I'm trying to stick with the pinks and the oranges and the yellows, since that's kind of the section where my title's going to go. And I decided to go with the you and me, and it worked out great with the colors because the you is pink, and then the and, or the ampersand, is gold, and the me is yellow, and it just works perfectly right there with the tone-on-tone colors. And so that's what we're going to use for a title. It's pretty small, but it works. And then I picked another flower sticker. I'm going to cut it out. Found a couple more tiny yellow butterflies from the 6 by 8 paper pad that I'm going to cut out, and they are really tiny, to kind of pull down a couple of small embellishments here on the bottom half, kind of below the title, right there. Yeah, always look at your papers. And if you see something on a big 12 by 12, but you think, man, that's really big, go look in the 6 by 8 paper pad, because chances are it's in there on a smaller scale. It might just be the perfect size. I'm getting close to being finished here. I'm going to come in with more gold. We're going to do the splatters this time. I haven't done gold splatters on this page. This is more of the Jen Hadfield Gold Glitter Spray. And then teeny tiny little flowers. And this is from the 8-page sticker book. And those are kind of what I would call clear stickers, but they're colored. So you can kind of see through them. Excuse me. You can kind of see through them. And then I'm going to add my journaling here, and I'm going to use my T-square ruler there to make sure the lines are straight. And, you know, I thought about using my gold pen, but I didn't feel like it would be very visible. So since my photos are black and white, I'm going to go with my black fine tip Sharpie for the journaling. And almost done. What's the last thing I'm going to do? Oh, yay! The date stamp. Paige's Collection Splendid has a roller date stamp. It's awesome. Starts at 2022 and moves on. I think 2022. 2021. My bad. But yeah, use that to stamp the date, and that's it. That's the final layout. I love this. This collection is perfection, as always, so make sure you check out Splendid. I'm going to link that down below. I'm going to link the cut file down below. I'll link the Nuvo Glimmer Paste if I can find that, along with the paints I used, everything. I took a lot of close-ups here so you can see all the details, but I hope this inspires you today. I hope it gives you some fun ideas to try. I hope you learned a fun technique that maybe you want to give a try. I know sometimes mixed media seems complicated and confusing and like just too much energy or effort to even try, but the more you play around with it, the easier it gets, and it's just fun because you never know, what result you're going to come up with next, and each time you do it, it's different, and it's awesome. So let me know if you have any questions. Thank you guys so much for stopping in, and I will see you in my next video. Have a great day.